Jake Morrison floated in the darkness of space, watching his ship burn. The New Horizon had been his home for 3 years. Now it was nothing but twisted metal and fire, spinning slowly as it died. His emergency pod felt like a coffin made of plastic and hope. The attack had come from nowhere. One moment they were carrying supplies to the colony worlds. The next moment, enemy ships were shooting everything that moved. Jake had barely made it to the escape pod before the reactor went critical. Now he was alone with enough air for maybe 6 hours and no rescue in sight. He checked his radio again. Static. The same static he had been hearing for 2 hours. Jake pressed his face against the small window and looked out at the stars. They looked cold and far away. He had always loved space, but right now it felt like the loneliest place in the universe. Something moved in the distance. Jake squinted and saw lights approaching. His heart jumped. Maybe it was a rescue ship. Maybe someone had picked up his distress signal. The lights got bigger and brighter. Jake could see it was a ship, but not a human ship. This one was long and curved, with silver metal that seemed to glow in the starlight. The ship moved closer, and Jake could see strange writing on its side. His stomach dropped. It was an alien ship. He had never seen one up close before. The war had been going on for 5 years, but most humans never actually met aliens face to face. They were either allies you never saw or enemies that killed you from far away. A beam of light shot out from the alien ship and grabbed his pod. Jake felt himself being pulled inside. He tried to stay calm, but his hands were shaking. He had heard stories about what aliens did to human prisoners. Most of the stories were probably not true, but some of them might be. The pod landed inside a large metal room with a soft bump. Jake heard air hissing as the room filled with atmosphere. Lights came on and he could see the walls were covered with panels full of blinking lights. Everything looked clean and advanced, like something from a science fiction movie. The pod door opened with a click. Jake took a breath and stepped out. The air smelled strange, like metal, and something sweet he could not name. 3 aliens stood, waiting for him. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. They wore uniforms that looked like they were made of liquid metal. One of them stepped forward and spoke. The words came out as musical sounds that Jake could not understand. But then a small device on the alien's chest blinked and the words changed to English. "Human survivor," the alien said. Its voice was deep and careful. "I am Captain Veltar, of the Alliance Warship Voidpiercer. You are safe." Jake let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. Alliance meant friendly. At least it was supposed to mean friendly. The Alliance was a group of alien races that had agreed to work with humans against the Zephyrian Empire, but Jake had heard that most Alliance members did not really like humans very much. "Thank you," Jake said. "My name is Jake Morrison. I was chief engineer on the New Horizon." Captain Veltar's large eyes looked Jake up and down. "Engineer," he said, and something in his tone made it sound like he was not impressed. "We will take you to the nearest human station when we complete our mission." Another alien stepped forward. This one was shorter and had more scars on its blue skin. "Captain, we should put the human in storage until we can transfer it. We have more important things to worry about." Jake felt his face get hot. "It?" he said. "I have a name." The scarred alien looked at him like he was a talking dog. "Humans are barely capable of interstellar flight. You would not understand our current situation." "Try me," Jake said. Captain Veltar held up one long-fingered hand. "Engineer Nixara, please show respect to our ally." He turned back to Jake. "We suffered damage in the same battle that destroyed your ship. Our quantum drive is failing. We estimate repair time at several weeks." Jake could hear worry in the captain's voice even through the translator. "What happens if you can't repair it in time?" "The Zephyrian Hunter Squadron will find us," Nixara said. "Then we will all die. But that is not a concern for a primitive Deathworlder." "Deathworlder?" Jake asked. "Your species evolved on a planet so dangerous that most civilized beings would die within hours," Captain Veltar explained. It has made you tough but not particularly intelligent about advanced technology. Jake felt angry, but he pushed it down. Getting mad would not help anyone. Maybe I could take a look at your drive system. I might be able to help. Nixara made a sound that might have been laughter. Human technology is barely adequate for basic space travel. Our quantum drive operates on principles your species has not even discovered yet. Sometimes a fresh pair of eyes helps, Jake said. I've been fixing engines since I was 12 years old. Maybe I can spot something you missed. The two aliens looked at each other. Jake could tell they were talking, but their translator devices were turned off, so he could not understand. Finally, Captain Veltar nodded. Very well, he said. But you will not touch anything without permission. Our technology is far too valuable to risk damage from inexperienced hands. Jake nodded. It was better than sitting in a storage room waiting to die. And maybe, just maybe, he could prove that humans were more than just tough survivors from a dangerous world. Maybe he could show them that sometimes the best solutions came from thinking differently, not just thinking with better tools. As they walked through the ship's corridors, Jake looked at the walls covered with lights and displays he could not read. Everything was smooth and perfect, like it had been grown instead of built. It was beautiful and alien and completely beyond anything humans had ever created. But Jake had learned something important during his years as an engineer. The fanciest technology in the universe was still just tools, and tools were only as good as the person using them. Sometimes the right person with simple tools could do things that experts with advanced equipment could not. He was about to find out if he was the right person. The engine room of the Void Piercer was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The walls curved up into a dome filled with floating crystals that glowed with soft blue light. In the center stood a structure that looked like a frozen waterfall made of silver metal and glass. Energy flowed through it in patterns that hurt Jake's eyes to follow. This is our quantum drive matrix, Captain Veltar said. It bends space and time to allow faster than light travel. Jake walked around the device slowly. He could feel power humming through the air, making the hair on his arms stand up. Several of the floating crystals were dark and cracked. Scorch. Marks covered part of the silver structure. The harmonic resonators are destroyed, Nixara explained, pointing at the broken crystals. And the containment field generators are misaligned. Without proper repairs, the drive will overload and destroy the ship. Jake nodded and pulled out a small tablet from his tool belt. He started taking pictures and measurements. The aliens watched him like they were watching a child play with dangerous toys. How do you normally fix this? Jake asked. We grow new resonator crystals using biomechanical fabricators, Nixara said. The process takes 14 days and requires rare minerals we do not have. Then we must realign the containment fields using precision instruments that were damaged in the attack. Jake studied his tablet screen. The energy patterns reminded him of something. He had seen similar waveforms before, back on Earth. This looks like electromagnetic field manipulation. Crude comparison, Nixara said with a snort. Your species barely understands basic electronics. This is quantum field engineering. Maybe, Jake said. But waves are waves. I worked on fusion reactors before I joined the merchant fleet. We used electromagnetic fields to contain plasma at millions of degrees. The math might be different, but the principles are probably similar. He pointed at one of the broken crystals. These resonators create standing wave patterns, right? And the containment field uses those patterns to shape space-time? Captain Veltar looked surprised. That is a simplified but not entirely incorrect understanding. Jake walked over to a pile of debris near the wall. It was wreckage from his destroyed ship pulled in when they rescued his escape pod. He started digging through twisted metal and burned plastic. What are you doing? Nixara demanded. Looking for parts, Jake said. He pulled out a length of copper wire, some carbon fiber struts, and a handful of basic electronic components. I think I can make temporary resonators using this stuff. The aliens stared at him like he had said he could fly by flapping his arms. That is impossible, Nixara said. You cannot create quantum field generators from scrap metal and primitive electronics. Maybe not quantum field generators, Jake agreed. But I can make electromagnetic field generators. And if the underlying physics are similar, they might work well enough to get us moving. He sat down on the floor and started working. Using his tablet as a reference, he began wiring together a device that looked nothing like the elegant alien crystals. It was ugly and crude, held together with tape and prayer. Captain Veltar activated his communication device. "Lisa Grant, to the engine room," he said. A few minutes later, a woman in a torn military uniform entered the room. She was tall, with short brown hair and tired eyes. Jake recognized her as another survivor from the battle. "Jake," she said with relief. "I was wondering where they put you." "Lisa," Jake said, not looking up from his work. "Good to see you made it out." "What's our situation?" she asked Captain Veltar. "The human engineer believes he can repair our quantum drive using debris from his ship," the captain said. Jake could hear doubt in his voice. Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Can he?" "The attempt will likely result in catastrophic failure," Nixara said. "But we have few alternatives." Lisa knelt down next to Jake. "How long do we have?" "Zephyrian hunter squadrons. Move fast," she said, checking her own tablet. "Based on their last known position and standard pursuit patterns, I'd say 16 hours before they find us." Jake's hands moved faster. He was connecting circuits and adjusting frequencies, trying to match the patterns he had observed in the alien crystals. It was like trying to tune a radio to pick up a signal from another dimension. "This is insane," Nixara muttered. "Using Stone Age tools to repair advanced technology." "Sometimes Stone Age tools work better," Jake said without looking up. "On Earth, we have a saying, if it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid." He finished the first device and held it up. It looked like a metal spider made of wire and electronics. "Let's see if this thing can sing." Jake carefully positioned his makeshift resonator where one of the broken crystals had been. He activated it with a small power cell from his tool belt. The device hummed to life and began glowing with a pale yellow light. The quantum drive responded immediately. Energy patterns that had been chaotic and broken suddenly started flowing in organized streams. The remaining alien crystals began resonating in harmony with Jake's crude device. "Impossible," Nixara whispered. But it got better. As Jake's device settled into rhythm with the alien technology, something unexpected happened. The energy patterns became stronger and more stable than they had been even before the damage. His electromagnetic field generator was not just replacing the broken crystal, it was improving the entire system. "The quantum field coherence is increasing beyond normal parameters," Captain Veltar said, staring at his instruments. "How is this possible?" Jake was already working on a second device. "Sometimes you need a different approach. Your crystals are precise, but they're rigid. My electronics are cruder, but they're adaptable. They can adjust to changing conditions in real time." He installed the second resonator, and then a third. Each one made the system work better. The quantum drive was not just repaired, it was better, then new. "Energy efficiency is up 30%, Captain Veltar reported, his voice full of amazement. "Field stability is the highest I have ever recorded." Nixara was running scans with a handheld device. "The quantum field resonance patterns are unlike anything in our database. This should not be possible with such primitive components." Jake smiled as he put the finishing touches on his repairs. "That's the thing about being primitive. We don't know what's impossible, so we try things that shouldn't work. Sometimes they do." An alarm sounded throughout the ship. Lisa checked her tablet and her face went pale. "Contact on sensors," she said. 3 ships, Zephyrian configuration. They found us." The bridge of the Void Piercer filled with urgent voices as the crew prepared for battle. Jake followed Captain Veltar from the engine room, his heart pounding. 3 enemy ships meant they were badly outnumbered. "All stations prepare for quantum jump," Captain Veltar ordered. "We need to escape before they get in weapon range." "Captain," the navigation officer called out. "Jump drive is showing unusual readings. The modifications have changed our jump parameters." Jake stepped forward. "What kind of changes?" The navigation officer, a thin alien with 4 arms, looked at his instruments with confusion. "The quantum field is more stable than I have ever seen. Jump distance calculations are showing impossible numbers. Define impossible, Captain Veltar said. Our normal maximum jump range is 5 light years. The computer is telling me we can jump 50 light years with the same energy cost. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at Jake. He felt his stomach twist with nervousness. I just fixed what was broken. I didn't try to improve anything. Enemy ships are charging weapons, Lisa reported from a tactical station. 2 minutes until they're in firing range. Captain Veltar made a quick decision. Execute jump, maximum safe distance. Sir, if the calculations are wrong, we could end up inside a star or scattered across space, the navigation officer warned. If we stay here, we will definitely be destroyed, the captain replied. Jump now. The alien crew worked their controls with practiced speed. Jake felt a strange tingling in his bones as the quantum drive powered up. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the enemy ships getting closer, their weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. Jump in 3, 2, 1, execute. The universe twisted around them. Jake had experienced quantum jumps before on human ships, but this felt different. Instead of the usual sick feeling and momentary blackout, he felt like he was floating in warm water. The stars outside stretched into lines of light and then snapped back into points. Jump complete, the navigation officer announced. Then his voice changed to amazement. Distance traveled, 47.3 light years. Jump time, 2.4 seconds. The bridge fell silent. Even Jake felt his jaw drop. Human ships took several minutes to complete a 5 light-year jump. This ship had jumped almost 50 light years in less than 3 seconds. Run a full diagnostic, Captain Veltar ordered. Confirm our position. While the crew worked, Jake noticed something else strange on the sensor displays. Captain, where are we on their screens? The sensor operator checked his instruments twice before answering. We are not showing on sensors, sir. According to our equipment, there is nothing here but empty space. That cannot be correct, Nixara said, finally speaking after staring at Jake with wide eyes. Check the sensor array for damage. Sensors are functioning perfectly, the operator replied, but they cannot detect our own ship. We appear to be completely invisible to all scanning methods. Lisa looked at Jake with growing excitement. Do you understand what this means? Jake was starting to understand, and it scared him. The modifications didn't just make the drive more efficient, they changed how it works. Captain Veltar activated his personal communication device. I must report this to Alliance Command immediately. But before he could make the call, another message came through. It was marked with the highest security codes. Captain Veltar, the message began in the musical language of his people. You are ordered to maintain communication silence regarding recent technological developments. Prepare to transfer all human survivors to Alliance custody upon your return. Full data analysis of drive modifications is required before any information is shared with human authorities. The bridge became very quiet. Jake felt cold understanding wash over him. They want to take the technology, Lisa said quietly. They don't want humans to know about it. Captain Veltar looked uncomfortable. The Alliance Council believes this development could change the balance of power in the galaxy. They must study it carefully before making decisions. Change how? Jake asked. Nixara answered, her voice full of worry. With this technology, a fleet could appear anywhere without warning and disappear just as quickly. Traditional defense becomes impossible. Whoever controls this could end the war overnight. Jake felt sick. He had been trying to help repair their ship and get home safely. Instead, he had accidentally created something that could change the entire war. And now his own allies wanted to steal it and lock him away. The Zephyrian Empire has been winning because they have more ships and better tracking technology, Lisa explained. But if we could move unseen and strike anywhere, their advantages would mean nothing. Which is why the technology must be carefully controlled, Captain Veltar said. He looked at Jake with something that might have been sympathy. I am sorry, Jake Morrison, but I have my orders. Jake looked around the bridge. The alien crew members were avoiding his eyes. Only Nixara met his gaze, and she looked troubled. So what happens to me? Jake asked. You will be detained for questioning. Alliance scientists will study your modifications and determine how to recreate them safely. And then? Captain Veltar did not answer directly. The Alliance Council will decide what information can be shared with human authorities. Jake understood. They were going to steal his work and leave humanity out of the benefits. The same species they called allies were planning to betray them the moment it became convenient. Captain, the communications officer announced, we are receiving a priority message from the Zephyrian fleet. They are demanding surrender. How can they be contacting us? Lisa asked. We jumped 50 light-years away. The sensor operator checked his equipment again. Sir, I am detecting 12 Zephyrian warships surrounding our position. They appear to have followed our jump somehow. Jake felt his blood turn to ice. That's impossible. We were invisible to sensors. Not anymore, Nixara said grimly. Something has changed. They can see us now, and they brought friends. The main viewing screen lit up with the image of a Zephyrian commander. The alien looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect, with multifaceted eyes and mandibles that clicked when it spoke. Alliance vessel, the enemy commander said through the translator. You will surrender the human engineer and all technical data immediately. Refuse, and we will destroy you. Captain Veltar stood straight. This is an Alliance military vessel. We do not surrender to pirates and murderers. The Zephyrian commander's mandibles clicked with what might have been laughter. Then you will die, and we will take what we want from your wreckage. The communication ended. 12 enemy ships began moving into attack formation. Jake looked at the faces around him. These aliens had been planning to betray him and steal his work, but right now, they were all in the same deadly situation. The enemy wanted his technology, too, and they were willing to kill everyone to get it. Captain, Jake said quietly, maybe we should test just how well this new drive system really works. The first enemy shots lit up space around the Void Piercer like deadly fireworks. Captain Veltar gripped his command chair as the ship shook under impact. Shields down to 60%, someone called out. Hull damage on deck 7. Execute. Evasive jump, the captain ordered. Get us out of their weapon range. Jake watched the navigation officer work his controls. The quantum jump felt different this time, smoother and faster. When the stars stopped moving, they were several thousand miles away from the enemy fleet. Jump successful, the officer reported. But sir, they are following us. Somehow they can track our quantum signature. On the main screen, 12 Zephyrian ships appeared around them again, forming a perfect circle. Their weapons were already charging for another attack. This should not be possible, Nixara said, studying her instruments. Our stealth capabilities were perfect during the first jump. Jake had an uncomfortable thought. Maybe they're not tracking the ship. Maybe they're tracking me. What do you mean? Captain Veltar asked. I worked with quantum fields when I made the repairs. Maybe some of the energy got into my body. Maybe I'm broadcasting our location without knowing it. Before anyone could respond, the ship shook again under enemy fire. This time the damage was worse. Lights flickered and smoke filled the air. Shields down to 30%, the tactical officer reported. We cannot survive many more hits like that. Captain Veltar made a decision. Prepare for combat jump sequence. We will use our new capabilities to attack and retreat rapidly. What followed was the strangest space battle Jake had ever seen. The Void Piercer would appear next to an enemy ship, fire all weapons, then jump away before return fire could hit them. They could attack from any angle and disappear instantly. But the enemy adapted quickly. Instead of trying to track their movements, the Zephyrian ships spread out and filled space with overlapping weapon fire. No matter where the Void Piercer appeared, it flew into a wall of deadly energy. During one particularly close call, an explosion threw Jake across the bridge. He hit the wall hard and felt something warm running down his face. When he looked up, he saw Nixara lying nearby, her blue blood spreading across the floor. Jake crawled over to her. She had taken a piece of metal in her chest and was breathing with difficulty. Nixara, stay with me, Jake said, trying to stop the bleeding with his hands. Her large, dark eyes focused on him, Human, she whispered. I was wrong about you. Save your strength. We'll get you to medical. She shook her head weakly. No time. Listen to me. Your primitive methods taught me something important. Innovation comes from fresh thinking, not advanced tools. She pressed something into Jake's hand. It was a small device covered with alien symbols. My personal access codes, she said. For the fabrication systems, promise me something. What? Make sure this technology reaches people who will use it to protect the innocent, not just to gain power over others. Another explosion shook the ship. When Jake looked down again, Nixara was still. He felt anger and sadness mixing together in his chest. This alien had died protecting him, even after calling him primitive and useless. She had changed her mind about humans, but it had cost her everything. Jake, Lisa called from across the bridge. We need to go. Now. Jake looked around and realized the situation had changed. Several Alliance crew members were dead or wounded. Captain Veltar was arguing with someone on his communication device in rapid alien speech. What's happening? Jake asked. Alliance Command is ordering the captain to surrender you to the Zephyrians, Lisa explained quickly. They think it will end the battle and save the ship. Jake felt cold. And Captain Veltar? He's refusing the order, but his crew is starting to question his judgment. Jake looked at the captain, who was still arguing with his superiors. The alien officer looked tired and conflicted. Jake could see the weight of impossible choices on his face. We need to get out of here, Lisa said. I downloaded complete technical specifications for both the alien systems and your modifications while everyone was distracted by the battle. She showed him a data storage device. Everything is here. The original Caltharian quantum drive designs and your repair modifications. If we can get this information to Earth, human scientists could build their own version. Jake thought about Nixara's dying words. Technology should protect the innocent, not just give advantages to those who already had power. How do we escape? He asked. Shuttle Bay 3. I checked the route while you were working on repairs. There's a small ship there that can make it to human space if we're careful. They moved quietly toward the exit, but Captain Veltar saw them leaving. Where are you going? He asked. To get some medical supplies, Lisa lied. Jake was hurt in the explosion. The captain looked at them for a long moment. Jake could see doubt in his large eyes. But before he could say anything, another message came through from Alliance Command. Captain Veltar, the voice said in harsh tones. You will transfer the human engineer to Zephyrian custody immediately. This is a direct order from the High Council. Captain Veltar's face went through several emotions. Duty, honor, and personal feelings warred in his expression. I understand, he said finally. Then he looked directly at Jake and Lisa. Medical supplies are located in Storage Bay 7. Take all the time you need. Jake understood. The captain was giving them a chance to escape, even though it meant disobeying direct orders. They made it to the shuttle bay without being stopped. The small ship Lisa had found was barely big enough for 2 people, but it had a quantum drive and enough supplies for a week. As they prepared for launch, Jake heard footsteps in the corridor outside. Someone was coming. Hurry, Lisa whispered, starting the engine sequence. The footsteps got closer. Jake could hear voices speaking in the alien language. They had been discovered. The shuttle bay doors began to open, but slowly. Too slowly. 10 more seconds, Lisa said, watching her controls. The footsteps reached the bay entrance. Jake heard Captain Veltar's voice speaking calmly to someone else. I ordered a full search of this section, the captain said loudly. Check every storage room and maintenance shaft. The humans could be hiding anywhere. Jake realized the captain was deliberately making noise to warn them. Even now, he was protecting them. The shuttle launched just as armed aliens entered the bay. Jake watched through the rear window as Captain Veltar stood in the doorway, watching them escape. The alien captain raised one hand in what might have been a farewell salute. Then they were in open space, surrounded by enemy ships that immediately began chasing them. Now we find out if your modifications work on a smaller scale, Lisa said, activating their own quantum drive. The universe twisted around them and they jumped toward home, carrying the secret that could change everything. The small shuttle shook as enemy weapons fire lit up the space around them. Jake gripped his seat while Lisa pushed their stolen ship to its limits, jumping from point to point in wild patterns to avoid being caught. "They're still following us," Lisa said through gritted teeth. "Every jump we make, they appear right behind us." Jake checked the scanner readings. 12 Zephyrian ships were staying close no matter how far or fast they jumped. "It's definitely me they're tracking. Something about the quantum field exposure is broadcasting our location. Then we need to get you to Earth fast before they can stop us." They jumped again, this time aiming for the Sol system. Jake felt the familiar warm sensation as space twisted around them. When the stars settled back into normal patterns, he could see the sun in the distance, small but unmistakably home. "Earth traffic control, this is emergency shuttle requesting immediate assistance," Lisa broadcast on all frequencies. The response came quickly. "Unknown shuttle, identify yourself and state your emergency." "This is Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant, carrying classified intelligence of the highest importance. We need immediate escort to Earth Defense Command." Before traffic control could respond, the Zephyrian ships appeared around them again. But this time, they were not alone. 3 human destroyers were patrolling nearby and immediately moved to intercept the enemy vessels. "All ships, this is Admiral Parker aboard the UES Defender," a new voice said over the radio. "Unknown vessels, you are in violation of human space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The lead Zephyrian ship responded with weapons fire. The human ships returned fire, and suddenly space was full of explosions and energy beams. But Jake could see that the 3 human ships were badly outgunned. "We have to reach Earth," Jake told Lisa. "The information is more important than our lives." Lisa nodded and pushed their shuttle toward the inner system at maximum speed. Behind them, the battle raged as human ships tried to buy them time. They almost made it. A Zephyrian fighter broke through the human defense line and came after them, weapons blazing. Lisa dodged frantically, but their small shuttle was not built for combat. One hit sent them spinning toward a nearby asteroid field. "Hull breach in the engine compartment," Lisa reported. "We're losing power." Jake looked at their situation and made a hard decision. "Set us down on that asteroid. I need to send a message." They crashed more than landed, sliding across rocky ground before coming to a stop against a large boulder. Jake could hear air leaking through cracks in the hull. "Emergency suits," Lisa said, throwing him a helmet and air tank. While she sealed the hull breaches with emergency patches, Jake connected their communication system to the shuttle's quantum drive. If his theory was right, he could use the quantum field to broadcast a message anywhere in human space instantly. "Jake Morrison to Earth Defense Command," he began recording. "I am transmitting complete technical specifications for advanced quantum drive technology. This data must be shared with all allied nations immediately." He paused, thinking about Nixara's last words and Captain Veltar's difficult choices. "But I'm also making a recommendation that might sound crazy. Don't use this technology to win the war through superior firepower. Use it to end the war through cooperation." Jake uploaded all the technical data Lisa had stolen, but he also added something else. His own notes about how human and alien technology could work together, and his ideas for sharing the breakthrough with all species. "The real power of this technology isn't that it makes us stronger than our enemies," he continued. "It's that it could make our enemies into our friends. If everyone has access to the same capabilities, no one has an advantage through force alone." He sent the message just as Zephyrian soldiers broke through their airlock. The aliens wore heavy armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. Their leader stepped forward, mandibles clicking with what might have been satisfaction. "Human engineer Jake Morrison," the Zephyrian said through a translator device. "You will come with us. Your knowledge belongs to the Empire now." Jake stood, up slowly, hands raised. "Actually, it doesn't belong to anyone anymore. I just gave it away." The alien commander's multifaceted eyes focused on him with confusion. "Explain." "I sent the complete technical specifications to every human colony, every allied government, and every neutral species I could reach. By tomorrow, half the galaxy will know how to build quantum stealth drives. The Zephyrian leader made a sound like grinding metal. You have doomed your own species. When everyone has this technology, the strongest will still win. And we are the strongest. Jake smiled. Are you? Because I sent the plans to Zephyrian colonies too. I figured your own people might like the choice of whether to keep fighting or not. The alien commander stepped back as if Jake had hit him. That is impossible. You do not know our communication frequencies. Quantum fields don't care about communication frequencies. The message went everywhere at once. Jake sat down on a broken piece of equipment. Face it, the war just changed completely. When everyone can appear anywhere and disappear just as fast, traditional military thinking becomes useless. Lisa stared at Jake with wide eyes. You gave the technology to everyone, including our enemies? I gave everyone the same choice, Jake said. They can keep fighting using new tools, or they can start talking and working together. But no one gets to be the only one with the advantage. The Zephyrian commander was speaking rapidly into his own communication device. Jake could not understand the words, but the tone sounded like urgent reporting to superiors. After several minutes, the alien received a response that made his mandibles click with what Jake was learning to recognize as surprise. My command reports. Unusual activity throughout the Empire, the commander said slowly. Colony worlds are declaring independence. Sector fleets are refusing combat orders. Our own people are using your technology to leave the war entirely. Turns out, most people don't actually want to fight, Jake said. They just want to live their lives in peace. When you give them the technology to go anywhere they want, a lot of them choose to go somewhere peaceful. The commander looked at his soldiers, who were shifting uncomfortably. Jake could see doubt in their movements. What happens now? Lisa asked. The Zephyrian commander was quiet for a long moment. Now we must decide whether to continue a war that no longer makes sense, or to accept your offer of cooperation. 6 months later, Jake stood in the main laboratory of the Galactic Innovation Consortium, watching humans, Caltharians, Zephyrians, and a dozen other species working together on projects that would have been impossible for any one race alone. The war had not ended with a great battle or a peace treaty. It had simply stopped making sense when everyone had the same capabilities and the same opportunities to build better lives. Jake looked out the window at ships from every known species coming and going freely, carrying people and goods and ideas to every corner of the galaxy. Some carried former enemies who had become friends. Others carried families seeking new homes among the stars. Captain Veltar appeared beside him at the window. The Caltharian had resigned his military commission to join the consortium. Any regrets? The alien asked. Jake thought about all the things that could have gone differently. He could have kept the technology secret. He could have given his own species the advantage. He could have chosen power over trust. None, he said finally. The best technology in the universe couldn't solve our problems. But the simple idea that we might be better together than apart did. Outside the window, a ship full of former Zephyrian soldiers was departing for a new colony where they would work alongside humans and Caltharians to build something that had never existed before. A society where species cooperated instead of competed. Jake smiled as he watched them go. Sometimes, the most advanced solution was also the most human one. Sometimes the best way to win was to make sure everyone could win together.